Miss Harriet, for the first real question, we're going to begin the conversation by you giving us a little history. And that would be such as where you were born. Where were you born at?
I was born in Gwinnett Memorial Hospital in Maryville, Tennessee.
Okay.
In 1948.
1948. And who were your parents?
Leonard and Lucille Estes.
Estes. So you were Estes.
Yes, ma'am.
Estes. And did you grow up here in Blount County?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And do you have any siblings?
I have a brother, Louis Estes, and he is almost 8 years older than me. He lives in Florida.
In Florida.
Mm-hmm.
What is your earliest memory of Jesus?
Well, I grew up in Broadway Baptist Church. My mom went there ever since she came to Blount County. She was born and raised in Loudoun County, and my father went to work for the aluminum company, and so we lived right near the Eagleton School, and we went to Broadway Baptist to church. Mom saw that we went to church, and she wanted her children raised in church, and it followed on with my child when I had children myself, because if you start them out right, hopefully later on, even if they do go away from the church, they'll come back to it. She always taught us that.
Amen. At what age did you surrender your life to Christ?
11.
11. Absolutely 11.
Absolutely.
And so, did you raise your son in church?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you raise him at?
He was raised in Clark's Grove Presbyterian Church in Maryville, and he my husband's family grew up there at Clark's Grove, and I grew up in Broadway, as I said, and my husband did not want to go to a large church. I did not care as long as we were going. It makes no difference. Size to me doesn't make any difference. But so he chose to do that, and so I left Broadway Baptist Church when I married him, and we started going to Clark's Grove then. And when Dean was born, that's where we were still going.
Okay. What memory stands out about Dean and their church experience? Anything in particular that you can remember about his experience at church?
Well, he always liked to go. I mean, he did a lot of things with the youth and stuff, and they always went to camps and stuff. They had great teachers, good counselors, and they were an era of kids that were all, several of them about the same ages and everything, and they all, they were taught in Bible school, and they, whatever was going on at the church, that's what he did.
Can you give me a specific experience in your life that tried your faith?
Well, in the year 2000, I was diagnosed with cancer, and then, and I still think now, I'm no better than anyone else to have it, but I had just had my first granddaughter, and she was only 6 months old. My prayer was that, I just want to see her grow up. I want to see her graduate school and have a family of her own, go to school. And all the time that I was taking my treatments and everything, I kept thinking, you've got to fight. Our church, my wonderful church at Pine Grove, had a prayer service for me. And in that prayer service, everyone, we wanted God to do His will and everything, but we were all praying that He would, give me time to share with my family and my church family. I understood always before that prayer was very important, but I understood then how very important it was, and it still is. When someone's going through those traumatic things with cancer, I don't know how they do it without God. I don't know how they could make it. if I live till May the 26th, I will get to see that young lady graduate from high school.
Oh.
And so
Praise
I
the
have
Lord.
been 17 years cancer-free. And I've got to do a lot of things that I, go places and things that I wanted to do. And sometimes you feel very insufficient in doing the things that, wondering if, have we merited the life that God has given us all during that time? Because sometimes you feel like you've not done anything with those 17 years. You feel like that you need to step up to your part, because He's already given you His part. Sometimes I just know I haven't done that.
Well, I think there's a lot of people that would say that you've touched them in many ways over those 17 years.
I would hope that I would hope that they would see Jesus in me in some way.
So when did you move your church membership to Pine Grove?
Let's see. I'm not sure. I know we moved our membership the week we joined the Pine Grove Church the week before John Perone resigned and went to another church.
Okay.
We'd been going there for a few weeks, and actually, I think it was about 5 months maybe that we've been going there.
Mm-hmm.
And
You just felt at home there?
I did feel at home there. I felt at home there at the beginning, Sometimes you feel like an outsider in any of your things, but it's because you're not, sometimes it's because we're not doing things to join in, because maybe of hesitation or just things that we don't feel like comfortable at doing at the time, But when we joined the church there and everything, we had known several people that went there, and we felt, well, some of the people that went there I had known through working and different things when I worked and stuff, so I still felt comfortable with them already.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever stayed up praying all night?
Yes. My son is retired from U.S. Air Force, and during the Gulf War, he started out with Desert Storm. And some of the things that I saw on the TV and everything, you couldn't sleep, and you just prayed for every individual. I mean, all of his crew and everything, all the boys and the girls that were in the military. You mentioned, you might not know them by name, but you know that they were fighting for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that means everyone needs prayer. They may think they don't, but they do.
What relationships are the most important to you?
Well, my family, my church family, my sibling. When we were growing up, he's almost 8 years older than me, so boys and girls didn't have that, he was always, after my father died when I was 14, so he all of a sudden thought he was going to be the boss of me, I guess, and that sibling didn't kind of latch on there. I didn't like the bossing thing, but he was only trying to help. He was trying to do, But after we both married, we're very close now, and our children, we're very close with our children. We both have only sons, and they're both retired from the U.S. Air Force. And we have, he has 2 grandsons, and I have 2 grandsons and a granddaughter, so we have a lot in common with our kids and stuff, our grandkids and things.
Looking back over your life, what events stand out in your mind?
Oh, wow. Well, I think that the year of 1966 was probably the biggest year of my life because I got out of high school and I got out of beauty school, and I got married all the same year. So it was quite an eventful year, and I worked as a hairdresser for 30 years, so I came in contact with many, many ladies and gentlemen, and I loved it because, they felt at ease with you, and they felt like, you were a part of their family too, and I liked the fact that, they felt confident enough with you that they could talk to you, and if you could share Jesus with them, then share Jesus with them,
It was a perfect opportunity, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
Golden opportunity, yes.
What would your son say was his favorite meal that you cooked for them? It didn't have to be Sunday, just what was his favorite meal?
I don't know. He liked steak and gravy and mashed potatoes and the old cooking stuff, And I did all kinds of soups and beef stews and stuff like that. That's about all, that I cooked. When we were first married, we didn't have a lot of choice in the cooking. Kenneth fished a lot and hunted a lot, and you learn to eat those things and cook those things. I didn't like them at first, but you did learn to do that. But now I don't have a particular thing that I like to cook, because with the two of us it's a little difficult, because I'm used to having a lot more people to cook for, and I don't do well with just cooking for two, because you have a lot of leftovers and stuff.
Eating the same thing several days.
Yes, you feel like you feel like you're eating it over and over again.
Well, what advice would you give a young Christian woman as she's starting out her life with her family? Something that maybe you wished you'd known.
I wished I'd known a little bit more of this, to periods of time of your child, to do what to do at that particular time. There's a lot of things that when he was little I didn't know that I should have done, or things that when they become teenager, Kenneth was gone a lot. He worked on the railroad, and so he was gone a lot, and I had to deal with things and some things, you dealt with them too fast. Your responses weren't thought out as much as they should have been, I think. At the time you were doing the best you thought you could, but you probably, if you look back on times, you look at the things that you should slow down and check out first before you make your thoughts on them. But anyone that's going through any kind of trials and everything, my still thoughts are, this too shall pass. You think at the time it's the worst thing that's going on, but then, when I'd come home from work as a hairdresser, sometimes I'd be complaining with my feet, and then I would think of the person that didn't have any legs or feet. You have to think about other things before you can, and then you think about, well, why am I complaining about that? It'll be okay.
When you hear the phrase, God's grace is sufficient, what comes to your mind?
In everything, God's grace is sufficient. And once again, we may think it is not at the time. We may think that we prayed for things and we didn't get the answer, and we might not have got the answer we wanted. But God is always on time. We think He's kind of behind sometime, and we want Him to do things before He does, but sometimes we just don't have enough patience. But He will always take care of it.
Do you have a favorite verse that you go back to?
I have, with God all things are possible.
Mm.
And also, and because I like the awesomeness of flying, I love flight. I think of the Isaiah 40:31, with those that wait upon the Lord, and we shall mount like wings of eagles. And I think of the awesome eagle and how it is so big to be so graceful, and how God just holds him up in the sky. It just, there's just an awesomeness of God when you look around. My favorite time of the day is when the sun comes up in the morning, because that, God has given me another day, and it is what I do with it that makes it, he gives it to me, and if I want to mess it up or let somebody else mess it up, it'll happen, But if you think about all the awesomeness and everything of him and his grace that's given to you every day, it's a wonderful thing to have a sunrise.